7:30, so we'll
Oh, boy.
get started.
I didn't care. I went to bed. I was so sick of it, I could scream.
Oh, me too, but just do the roll call. We have Mrs. Corso here, Mr. Harrington is here, Mr. King is here, Mr. Kuntz, Mr. Zier. I'm here.
Yep.
So we're missing Mr. Hayberger, Mr. Miller, Mr. Siemens, and Mr. Zuloff.
Huh.
I thought Mr. Siemens would be here. I saw him.
I
last
did
night.
too. I talked to him. He said he was
I
coming.
talked to him last night, and he thought he would be here, so.
He said he wanted to go to breakfast.
Well, good. All right.
He's always
First item of business, approval of minutes from the September 5th meeting. Is there-
Move to approve the minutes?
Second.
Mark? Seconded by Judy. Any discussion of the minutes? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. New business, no new business was submitted to Quinn. Does anybody have any new business they want to discuss this morning? No. Okay. We'll go on to old business with updates, Sandusky Bay Pathway. And this is here.
So as far as the Sandusky Bay Pathway is concerned, I wanted to provide the update that we are now out to bid on the section that goes from Cedar Point Drive to Heminger Ditch. That was the portion that was, funding was received by ODOT and passed on from the federal government through the RAISE grant through ODOT to the city so we could do that portion of the project. Bids get opened at the end of November, and we're hoping to have a contractor on board in December. So I wanted to give you guys that update, and that's the one that has the bridge that goes over Pipe Creek.
Okay, very good. Any questions, Judy?
What is the budget on that?
The construction budget is $5.5 million,
And what's the time frame on that?
about 10 months, I think, is what we estimate. So it should be completed sometime next fall. We're assuming that the contractor is going to get in and do the work on land pretty quickly, and that the only item that's going to drag on is the bridge work, because that is a prefab structure that's going to need set in place.
Okay, one more question. Once they get over to Cedar Point Drive, how are they going to cross Cedar Point Drive? Where are they going to cross it?
So the project that we're doing is going to connect to the existing bike path on the east side of Cedar Point Drive. And then that's going up the east side, and it's going to continue where it currently is, that 10-foot bike path on the east side of the road. It's going to go up to First Street, and we're working with Cedar Point to work on that connection that's going to cross First Street on the east side and then cross Cedar Point Drive on the north side.
Okay, and how do you think that's going to work? Do you have any idea?
What do you mean? How's it going to work?
Well, do they have to go through the traffic light, or is there going to be something else to get them across?
That's what we're working with Cedar Point on. When they do their expansion of the causeway, we're trying to figure out signalization and timing, pedestrian timing, things like that. So once we're not even, they're not even into the final design stage of that yet. So we're just coordinating, making sure that we have a seat at the table so that we can make sure that our project coordinates with their project for the bike path that's going to go up the west side of the causeway.
Okay, and what is the timeline on that?
I don't know. You'd have to ask Cedar Point that question.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions on the pathway? All right, if not,
yeah.
Justice Center.
Got one.
Carl,
I'm sorry.
The signage that has been placed, is that a choice that's been made for the entire pathway, the fonts and the type of signage? I missed a few meetings, but I don't know if there'd been any discussion on that signage for the pathway.
I don't know exactly which signage you're referring to.
Some down on Water Street, in the
Okay,
old Surf's Up area, that, some signage there, I
Yeah.
noticed.
so that was, when we initially started the Sandusky Bay Pathway back in 2017 timeline, staff engaged with the consultant and with the public and with some stakeholders to develop a wayfinding and branding package for the Sandusky Bay Pathway. The goal was to create a unique signage package just for the pathway that would be different than all the neighborhood routes like on Warren and J.C. Park and some of those routes that are online or will be coming online. So the signage and branding and wayfinding that you see on East Water Street was really kind of the first implementation of that overall package that was approved previously. I think it was approved, finalized in 2020 maybe. That includes the banners that were installed along Venice and on Shoreline Drive. It includes the seat wall. The seat wall at mile marker 0 at the base of Columbus Ave is similar to what was in the package. In the package, it has more of a sinuous design to it, and that one's very linear, just because of the topography at that location. So some things have been implemented, including the green and blue stripes of the pathway. So those things have been implemented, but this was the first one where those signs have been implemented.
The black and white
into
signs.
Yes.
I was just thinking that maybe there was going to be some correlation between the blues and greens striping and the signage, is what I was wondering.
All right, any other questions on the pathway?
I have
Right.
one other question, I'm
All
sorry.
right, Judy?
Once it gets to First Street and you're going to go down First Street, how's that going to work? On which side of the road, or do you know that yet, or?
Yes, the layout on First Street is to continue down First Street and then hit the old pier track, which is, I guess, the most recent name of the facility was Beer, Bait, and More. So that's where the pier track kind of hits First Street, and then it's to head up that route and connect over at Meg's, where Sycamore Line currently is, where the terminus of the pathway is. It's Sycamore Street and Meg's, where the park with the hook is. So,
Okay, so from Cedar Point Causeway down to Beer Bait and whatever that is, what's it going to do there?
it's going to be on the north side of the street.
North side, okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any other? All right, we'll move on to the Justice Center update.
Yes, I wanted to provide this group with that project is essentially complete. We have a couple punch list items, and we have a couple change order items that we're adding to the end of the project. It should be done within the next month, I would say, and we're hoping to have a ribbon cutting sometime in December. So that project is essentially complete. One of the things that we just found out yesterday was that we have funding available to redo the parking lot between the tennis courts and the parking lot that was finished. We had been waiting for Wheels Park, which is the next item. We've been waiting for the concrete trucks to finish on Wheels Park. And they are essentially complete with that project. They have one or two more pours this week, and then they shouldn't have those trucks driving over it. So the timing is going to work out perfectly that we can get that tidied up over there as well. So police have been operating for quite some time. They've also moved into the Phase 2 section of that building a couple months ago. So once court section is ready and they move over, then it'll be fully operational.
Okay, great. It's a good update. Any questions on the Justice Center? No? Okay. And Wheels Park?
Yes, that project is obviously much anticipated, and the public is very excited about it. All of the concrete for the actual park amenities is complete. The contractor is still the remaining items is there's some vertical faces out there that the contractor needs to grout and fill and make look presentable. They're not usable surfaces, but they need to do that work, and those are immediately adjacent to those usable surfaces, which is why the fence is still up around it. It looks ready, but they're still grading, there's sidewalk work, and they also need to put in the 2 shade structures, and they're waiting on the steel for those. So there are some items that need to be completed. We're hoping to get the fence down early next week. We still anticipate that there's going to need to be some work, grading work, things like that, to reseed and make sure that the park drains properly. But we're anticipating sometime next week that that park will not have a fence, and we expect people to actually start bringing their skateboards out. So we want to make sure that the public is aware that that is going to happen, but also be very conscientious that we're trying to finish this for long-term use. So if there are areas that are still sectioned off, cordoned off with caution tape or things like that, that they can stay away from that and let the contractor do the work when they need to finish up that work. And, you know, hopefully within a week, people can start enjoying it.
Great. Sounds good. Any questions there, Bill?
Do you intend to have a grand opening of that at some point of the game?
Yes, so we are planning kind of a soft opening ribbon cutting the first or second week of December. We haven't figured that out yet. We just want to make sure that everything's going to be ready to announce that. And then we're planning, and I say we, mostly the rec division is planning more of a grand opening in the spring. And they're thinking maybe it's like a day-long event sort of thing. So we want to make sure that the weather's really nice and we get a good reach for that.
Need to have a big splash with that. Make that big.
All right. Any other questions? All right. Columbus Avenue Streetscape.
Can we go back a second? I'm wondering about access to the sailing club. Is it going to remain as it is now for next summer?
Yes, the sailing club, we resurfaced that little entrance off of East Water Street. I'm sorry, off of East Market. And the parking lots are connected between the Justice Center and the tennis courts. That's going to stay open, that little segment in there that connects that parking lot to the Battery Park facility. That's going to be included in the resurfacing because it's in really bad shape. So we're going to include that as well. So it should be a lot smoother pass through there for the portions that the city has responsibility.
Thank you.
All right. Now to the streetscape. I think there's something going on.
Yeah.
You may have noticed,
noticed
when
that.
you came into City Hall today that work has been moving right along over the past couple weeks on the Columbus Avenue Streetscape project. Great Lakes Construction, who's leading the project, they're wrapping up the installation of the water and storm line infrastructure and excavating the flat surfaces to prepare for concrete along the north end of the project. This is my update from Megan Stuckey, hot off the press. She's leading this communication, so she always has the most up-to-date information. So the work is required, the closure of Water Street along the west side of Columbus Avenue, and they do plan to open that block back up to vehicular traffic before this weekend. As for the Columbia Gas work, they are wrapping up with their work along down Water Street. And then next week, Great Lakes will continue running the water and storm lines along Columbus Avenue, and they're going to start moving their way south. So they started up at that north intersection. They're going to begin moving their way south, and they'll need to close the west side of Columbus Avenue at Market Street to vehicular traffic during the time where they're in that intersection. Access will be maintained for pedestrian traffic, and we just ask everyone to be diligent when you're walking around. They're using the orange fencing, so make sure you're not accidentally going through a fenced-off area, and watch for gravel and things like that. And as the work progresses, we're going to see different changes throughout the project, and we'll try to get out that information as quickly and timely as we can. And we really appreciate everyone's time and patience with the construction. It's really interesting to have it right there at your front door. So we definitely are out there daily talking to them, and they're doing good work out there. So just moving along.
Questions?
Karen, I've got a question. I'm sure you're aware of the traffic tickets that were issued to people who were trying to access some of the businesses on Washington Row. And I hope that was, I mean, it was kind of draconian. The police were just, instead of giving a warning, they're giving them a ticket. And, you know, the first day that that road was closed was causing some issues. And I know the business on the corner of Vita is very much concerned about access to their business. So with a little thought towards cooperating with the businesses there, I think we'd be a whole lot better.
I do know that our city manager, Mr. Orzak, has been in direct communication with that business and with the officers that were issuing tickets. I think he made that call. When the road was first closed, they realized very quickly they needed to put up really big road closed signs on the east portion of the road at Washington Street to make sure it was clear that traffic is coming out of Washington Street there and you cannot go in there. And there was a consistent stream of people still turning the wrong way down Columbus Avenue, which is very dangerous because it was the only way for people to get out. And
Aaron,
that's when they
if
started
I may
looking
make
at that
a
carefully.
comment, what's really needed there is a do not enter sign instead of road closed. Because it does not tell you you can't come in that way. It doesn't tell you
Right.
which direction traffic is going. It's extremely confusing, and I know the first time I saw it, I thought traffic was going north on Columbus Avenue because the northbound lane was open past Washington Row. So a do not enter, like they have one-way signs down at Water Street telling you it's one way going this way, but there's nothing at Columbus Avenue and Washington Street to tell you do not enter Columbus Avenue.
I'll pass that along to the team.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Tim.
Kudos to Megan Stuckey and her communications. If you're not currently getting the emails from Megan with regards, I mean, she includes a narrative, she includes a map, she includes pictures. We are getting them almost daily and getting updates as to what's going on.
Right.
So I would
That's
reach out to Megan. Could be, I'm a optically oriented person. I want to see it. And so being able to see the pictures, being able to see the maps really helps explain exactly what's going on, and she's doing a great job keeping us all up to date. So I would reach out to Megan and make sure that you're included on her mailing list.
Do have a couple copies of the official detour map if anybody's interested in those, if that's helpful
Okay.
to you or your, people in your sphere. I have a couple copies of that.
Aaron, if I
Go
may,
ahead,
sir.
Joe.
I was going to ask on the local businesses, do they have maps like that available within their businesses that they can pass those out?
They've received this via the communication, so there's an email list that's going out just to business owners and building owners on Columbus Avenue, as well as the emails that are going out to all stakeholders. And so they've received the maps, and they receive even more detailed updates when, say, the water lines are getting run to their, when the gas lines are getting run to their individual storefronts and things like that. So they're in constant communication. So if they don't have it posted and you think it would be valuable to them and their customers, feel free to suggest, but we haven't provided
I
that.
already have to a certain degree, and again, I agree with you. I appreciate the updates from Megan.
So you're a visible guy too.
I'm a visible guy too. More so now than I was 20 years ago. But I do have one other question
Yeah.
directed to Richard, if I could. Has the commission with the local businesses been receiving any complaints or issues that they're concerned about with the local businesses with the streetscape?
Not that I know of. I haven't heard of
Okay.
anything, complaints.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
So I stopped in Vita. I've been trying to visit the businesses along here because I know it's a challenge. And I did stop into Vita and ask them how business was, and business, they said, was consistent.
Mhm.
So.
Well, that's
They
good to
had
hear.
some events that were planned during the time, and I think the people that are attending those events are working through the problem. It's the people that don't go there often.
Right.
That I can't get in and there's nowhere to go, and complaining to the owner. And so I was there on the first day that it was a big deal, but I think it's a whole lot better now. Thank you for the city's
Yes.
cooperation.
Thank you.
He hasn't been open for the past 2 days. Vita hasn't.
All right. Any other input on the streetscape?
9 o'clock at night.
Okay. There are items under old business that are indicated that we have no updates, but are there any questions that anyone has on either the Landing Causeway wetlands or the Jackson Street parking lot hotel project?
I do have one on the
Mr. Harrington?
parking lot.
Yes, sir.
Jackson Street. Do we see any further information coming forward on that?
I think that is coming soon to commission, because they had a 6-month extension on the communication there. I have an update from Ms. Gilson, who's leading that. She said due diligence, including concept design and project financial modeling, is underway, and the project developers are meeting with city staff this week and toward the month's end to discuss project progress and the project financial resources.
Very good. Thank you.
So can we expect a report next month on progress on that?
That's my understanding, but I'm not sure it's accurate. My understanding is that there will be some sort of update to City Commission in December, but I don't know for sure.
All right. Any other items of old business that anyone on the committee has? If not, we'll move on. Community input, Mr. Schwanger.
Need to sign in here, Quinn?
I know your name, so
Okay.
you don't have to.
Tim Schwanger, I just have 4 items, a couple of questions, a couple of comments. I noticed that Battery Park has disappeared, the Battery Park project has disappeared from the agenda. Is that no longer a goal? Is that,
I think they have, it's to the commission the next time that they have a deadline, and I don't know what that is. It's out quite a ways, so.
well, the developer has $1 million in his hand right now from the state. And the question would be to ask the engineer, maybe Ms. Blair, is what is the $1 million for? Is that for public improvements? Is that to help them build their condominiums, their parking garage? I'm just wondering why it's disappeared from the agenda. I don't know who makes up the agenda, but that's a big project.
When we put them on the agenda when there's updates, that's how we do it, so.
Okay. Another item that you guys might not be aware of is that the city has applied for a grant for Lions Park for a beach study. I don't know if you guys knew about that or not, or
Was not aware.
maybe a future topic of discussion with this committee.
Sure.
The Mylander Plaza, I don't know if maybe Ms. Corso's going to bring that up later about what's going on at Mylander Plaza, some kind of a Christmas.
I'm happy to do that if you want to know.
Well, no, I figured towards the end.
There's some flyers all over the city you might want to pick up and take.
Right, exactly. But it's not for me. I'm not asking these questions for me, Kevin. It'd be nice to let the public know.
November 29th through the 4th,
Through December 14th.
through the 14th of December, there's going to be an event on
Each
Water
weekend.
Street.
Okay.
And if you drive down there, you'll see all the stalls. They're
Right.
set up for the,
I know there's a lot of questions on my favorite place, social media, about, is this temporary housing? I mean, it's.
oh, not.
No, absolutely not.
And there's nothing on the city's Facebook page about it. There might be today, but there hasn't been, in recent history. The other thing is, when I think of the pier track on First Street, I don't think of Bates, Beer and More, whatever it is. I think of from the end of McEwen Street over to Ogons and then to the opening of the Cove. That's what I consider to be the pier track. And I guess I need an answer today from the engineer maybe. Is that something that is not going to happen, or are we still talking about it? Is it a possibility? I mean, we just need an answer one way or the other. Because originally, when the Bayfront pathway was established, that was one of the priorities, was to get that open to the public, because that's why we bought it in 1973 or 1975, I think it was. So we've had it for almost 50 years, and nothing's been done. Now, I know a couple of years ago, Mr. Murray at a commission meeting stated that the city's confident that we have ownership of that pier track. Now, the boathouse owners are going to say, no, that's not true. But the city had done a number of, went through a bunch of paperwork and did some surveys, and again, the city commission, and the city was confident at that time that we owned the pier track. So I guess I just need to know for myself and for anybody else that's interested in that pier track, is there still a possibility? You guys wouldn't know that. No. But still, it's within your purview as a Bayfront corridor committee. Bayfront means not First Street. Bayfront means a pathway running along the waterfront where there's a possibility to do that. And this is a possibility. Now, I suppose I can get that answer through an email, but I thought maybe you guys might be interested to find out whether or not that's still a go or a no-go, or, so if the city engineer wants to answer that, that's fine. If not, I'll find a different way to get the answer.
Mr. Klein, I think you addressed that partially in your update on the pathway, did you not?
Yeah, we're still looking at that as an option.
Right. Thank you. All right, Bill.
Just to follow up what Mr. Schwanger asked, do we know what the ownership of that whole pier track is?
So we have done extensive research on that, and there are still areas where the residents feel that it's owned by them. As we go through the process, I think I've had 3 law directors now in the discussions with me, so it's updating them each time on what we found and where we're going. I haven't had that discussion with the current law director. I felt and still feel that it's significantly more important to finalize the acquisition of the First Street and the West End and everything else, and get the full pathway completed with acquisition prior to going down that route. The contract that we have with EDG is for acquisition purposes for the portion I mentioned, and to do full design of that those sections of the pathway as well. In-house, we're looking at and trying to proceed with the remaining acquisition pieces, not only of that section of the old pier track, but also other sections that, you have enough time. When you have enough time, you proceed with those things, such as connecting J.C. Park to Warren Street, through the old rail spur that was part of the bicentennial plan as well. So there's still a lot of areas of acquisition, but we're systematically moving through the higher priority locations as we finalize all that stuff.
Okay, thank you. All right. Any other items? Judy?
One other question, please.
Yes.
Regarding the roundabout at Cleveland Road and Cedar Point Drive, has that gone any further?
That we are still going through the acquisition process, and it's possibly going to be going through the negotiations through attorneys and those types of things. So we don't necessarily have a timeline on that at this point.
Thank you.
All right. Other items? If not,
Move to adjourn.
Second.
we're adjourned.
you beat me.
Yeah.
Got to get up pretty
He
early.
had it quick, Joe.
Got to get up early.
All right, thank you.
Are we all going, Mark?
I will not be able to join you.
Not today?
It's in you.